Hey guys, and welcome back to Trekyards. He's Commander Cockings.
He's kind of funny.
And today we're going to be taking a look at a bit of a bug. Bug in the system. Literally. The time bug, or otherwise known as the Krenim Chronophage, which is a holdover, a weapon from the Temporal War, which is a neat idea. So, anyway, we're going to talk about that today.
Mm-hmm. But a brand new tech. We haven't seen Time War tech for a long time. Well, I guess it might have been intentional. They said Temporal War, not Temporal Cold War. So I guess from their perspective, it became a full war.
Well, that's why the temporal stuff is illegal now, because they did say the Temporal War caused those things to come into effect. So,
but once you build time tech, you can never really take it away. So obviously, tech still exists in some form. We do have a limitation of this thing already, which I approve of, which was it runs out of juice. It's not infinite god tech, which is great. I'm guessing the size of the thing although not the size, the mass, how many tons of material you're phasing through time probably affects it. So, for example, a starbase would be days, a shuttle might be years. I'm guessing because
Yeah, they did point out weeks or months depending on how long its source lasts. So. Yeah.
And it is old at this point, so it might be a second-hand, pre-owned time bug.
It cloaks or it melds into whatever. I don't know if it's cloak or a meld. Yeah, and it also shifts the ship around through time, various time to keep the ship occupied, like I said, for weeks or months. And it's just a fluke that they were transporting at the time, so they weren't. They were out of the. They could affect it, basically. The odds of that happening are or finding somebody with tardigrade DNA that can also live outside the time stream. Yeah, it basically just keeps your enemies busy for a while, reliving things from their past. So
or future, as we saw.
Yes, yeah, indeed.
And they do say it's a real time jump because they can affect the past. So it's not a perception thing. It is actually moving the ship back into its past self? No, that doesn't make sense. It can't do that. Otherwise, because the bug is there in all timelines. Because in this episode, it's important because it's moving the characters. But as you say, you're not meant to know it's happening. In which case, it's not moving it's moving everything, but it's not. But how can it move it into itself?
It's time tech. You can't figure it out. There's always loopholes in time travel movies.
I guess it's phasing then. It's not actually traveling through time. It's phasing.
Could be. It could only be there for the segment of time that they relive that moment.
Okay, so it's not actually moving through time. It's phasing you into your past. So therefore, you as your present day self would phase into your past self, but because you wouldn't know, it wouldn't matter.
Yes.
So that means Stamets died every time that future Stamets was in past Stamets' brain? Because he didn't exist at that point. There was only one Stamets and it was future Stamets. So that other Stamets was not alive.
Don't know. That's a good question.
That's it. Because it's not meant to happen, right? And even say he's non-temporal, there was no sense of... This is obviously getting into minutia. There was no sense of it being a young Stamets with some knowledge of the future. It was old Stamets in young Stamets' body. There was no ifs or buts. So he overrode his existence. Because otherwise, any Stamets in any time would also know... It's a whole confusing thing. It's fine. It's interesting, right? How they presented it. But really, it's just keeping it. It's cause and affecting it. That's why I said in our review. That's all it is. We just happen to see a unique case of it. And obviously, if no one knows it's happening, you can't change the future or the past or the present. So it's whatever. But it is phasing you into those events.
And then, you missed the time that you're there because they were there for 6 hours. If it was weeks or months, you'd come back weeks or months later and go, "What happened?" And then your whole fleet's destroyed or whatever, right? So,
well, I wonder what it would look like from the outside.
We never did see. Yeah, maybe the ship just sits there. It's an easy target, and you can destroy it, and then they never do wake up. So who knows? My only gripe is that it looks like a spider, and it's not a spider because spiders have 8 legs. This only has 6 legs with 2 mandibles, so it's technically not an arachnid. But I wish it would look more alien bug-like. Or more mechanical. It did have a mechanical type body.
Yeah, it's definitely really a machine, not a creature.
Yeah, in close-ups it looked really cool. But yeah, I just wish it had a more alien-looking insect vibe, considering it's a Krenim device. I mean, maybe it morphs into whatever they want it to.
I mean, it shouldn't matter anyway, because it just doesn't need a beauty filter. It just needs to take out the ship. And yet, Krenim, I don't know if we mentioned that yet. Cool, tremendous. Also, kind of puts in a slight little thing, being you could easily have said the Krenim that we saw at Anarax was a closed loop. He did his thing, got erased, time was reset. But this is them explicitly saying the Krenim are always destined to get back into time tech and get back in the war. Oh dear. I guess they are just predisposed to that, unfortunately. Although I guess Anarax did still exist, so I guess something else might have happened or something. I'm just saying, although I suppose you could argue that because they exist in multiple time streams in a time war, you can't just change the past and kill every person in the time war, otherwise then it would end in one attack, right? So this is possibly from a version of the war where the Krenim had time tech, which you had to undo to have a peaceful society, and they had some left over. Because you can have time remnants, that's what Tasha is. So there's not an issue. So this is probably from a version of the future or the past or the present where they made this insane tech, like Anarax.
Yeah, I need more explanations for the whole time war thing. I would love to learn exactly how that played out. So, but
although they might not do a good job, because it's a very hard thing to write. Even Enterprise didn't do a good job. That's why they kind of stayed away from it as long as they could until they closed it. But really cool piece of tech. It's so simple. It just keeps in a time loop, but also not that. I think if it was a time loop, that's something you could affect. I do get the sense it's phasing the matter past and present, so it isn't actually where it was. I think it doesn't stay there. There might be a temporal signature, but not actually physically where it is, because they, whatevering. I'm kind of surprised they didn't mention Zora as being able to deal with it, because Zora is meant to be the hybrid of a obscenely intelligent, obscenely advanced AI life form, but it couldn't do anything. Like it was. I mean, it's a bit of a big thing to say it's non-temporal, but didn't play a part actively in the story. I mean, it was there in terms of it said hello, but
after thinking about it and having watched the episode, I'm like, why didn't they ask the future Zora, can you detect any anomalies down in the spore room, because it's not engineering, and maybe get some information via that, because it was locked onto the systems. But not a big deal that it's because it would phase in and out, like I said, for the moments that they were there in that time. So it'd only be there for those moments. It would have been there for that moment in the future as well. And
yes.
It wouldn't have been. Yes, it would have been.
It would have to have been. Because to jump it back into the past, it would have to be there too, which means they didn't kill it, even though they did kill it in that timeline. It had to be, yeah. Otherwise, which actually would have been a fun.
Well, that means that it lasted 30 years or more locked onto the ship. Like that's the power source for that one.
No, because that's the shifting them. That was the present day bug, not the future bug. The bug in the future ran out of power, but the present day bug could still shift into the future bug and then out again.
That makes sense.
But it was still there. So that would have been a kind of fun thing, Zora saying, it's back, alarm, the bug's back. Again, this is getting more complicated stuff. But the fact that it's this interesting, I think, is a testament to, I've not seen this before, and that's kind of hard to do with that many versions of time travel. We had time loop with the Gormagander. This was fun and simple, really, really simple, even though giantly complicated.
Yeah, I love that we initially thought it was just a common tracker, just so they could track Discovery, but no, it's actually much more sinister than that. So I kind of appreciated it.
Because this is, how do they afford this level of high intensity time tech? Could it work for a planet? Could you phase a planet? Probably. For like a day, an hour, a minute.
As long as it's locked onto a system that's integrated throughout the entire body of the thing, probably. It's hard to say.
Well, yeah, because what was it attached to?
I don't know if it was a main APS feed, or I forget exactly what he said.
Okay, so is it maybe siphoning power, but then it wouldn't run out of power? What was it connected to? I just thought it was somewhere you wouldn't find it, you wouldn't look for it, or maybe it's siphoning power to be its shield, because you wouldn't want to use all your power for a shield and the time drive. That's even more insane. Maybe that was to self-defense. Maybe, like I said, he may be as conduit.
Possibly. That would make the most sense. Because it started out in Adira's quarters, then went to the bridge, and then ended up in engineering. Like it was looking for the proper place.
But then you wouldn't need a shield
on.
if you're resetting people. Why would you think to include a shield?
Because it's a temporal device. So if a temporal agent, if a temporal agent figures out where it is, they can jump on the ship and disable it.
So I was going to mention that earlier. Thanks for reminding me. This only works against non-temporal Cold War officers, because anyone on a relativity they'd be out of temporal or anoraks. They'd be out of temporal sync. They wouldn't still know what's happening. I assume it's in the comm badges or whatever. Like, this can't be a ship with that in mind. Obviously, most ships aren't temporally based, obviously, or they could go back in time, put it on the Enterprise D, say, cause havoc. That's not an issue, right? Pulling the D out of the timeline or whatever. But yeah, you could still beam into the ship. If you can track it, which relativity I'm sure could, with the time scanners, you have to beam into it. But wouldn't that be so amazing to see relativity beam into this ship during the 11 minutes, and then the ship around you flares, but then doesn't do anything, because the future energy has phased into itself, but not the ship, just the energy of the ship, to then now be in the past version. So if a temporal agent was standing in front of Stamets, who was future Stamets, and then it phased out and it was back to normal Stamets, but they'd still be there.
Time stuff. Can't wrap your head around it.
Yes. But it's good. It was a good invention. I like it.
Yeah. So let us know in the comments section what you thought about the time bug or the Krenim Chronophage. I think it was awesome. Yeah, let us talk to each other in the comments section. That's what it's there for. Hit the like button and make sure you subscribe to the channel, as well as notification bell. Do the things.
All the things right now. We'll wait.
Or in the past. Doesn't matter. Whenever you want to do it, just do it.
Stuart's got 5,000 likes. Oh my goodness. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Because it's me from the future. Don't ask how far. It took a while. But thank you, guys. Thank you. So I know you're going to go click on the next video. So go do that right now. In the present. Well, we're in the past. You're in the present. But you're in our future. So future you, tap on past us to watch us in the present. And if you're there, you could super chat on a future live we haven't invented yet, with us at the present, and you at the present.
Just super thanks every time you go back in time or forward in time to watch this.
I don't know if you saw, Stuart, in our review of this episode, I did do the joke where I had us repeat certain bits a few times. We did, yeah, that was the whole thing I did. Or join the channel on YouTube or Patreon, etc. Guys, all are amazing ways to help us what we do on a weekly basis.
That's right. So until next time, or that time, or the past time, whenever, he's Commander Cocky.
He's kind of all the time.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.